My name is Bailey Doomlau, and this is a presentation of Martina Mayok's Sanctuary City. The play follows a boy and a girl of unspecified ethnicity and heritage, both of whom are undocumented. When the girl manages to achieve citizenship, she decides to sacrifice her stability by marrying the boy. The years-long process looms over the two friends in the wake of 9/11. When the girl goes off to college, engagement ring in hand, the commonality between the boy and the girl is lost. She backs out of the engagement after 3.5 years and returns home to find the boy has a new boyfriend, Henry. The girl and Henry argue over who can love him the best and force the boy to make an impossible decision: to pretend in a straight marriage but get citizenship, or to love Henry and lose all chance at full personhood. This play sparks a necessary conversation around the continuous struggle of undocumented immigrants in the United States. The immigration system is convoluted and complicated. The play, written reflectively on the years immediately following 9/11, applies just as truthfully to a post-Trump world, where an outside group is villainized and vehemently hated. In the last 20 years, there have been periods of increased hate crimes against Asian Americans, Black Americans, and Latino Americans. I believe this play also speaks to the experience of being on the outside of society and watching something you are not allowed to join in. Currently, we are all working in an industry that is dealing with an immense discussion on what qualifiers we use for choosing the works we produce, with identity playing a key role. Stories and their belonging to specific groups is very important. Sanctuary City is best suited to our current time because of the open-ended casting and opportunity for the story to belong to anyone from a number of identities. As the queer descendant of Asian American immigrants, the perspective of the play resonates deeply with me. My relatives are all immigrants to this country, and I'm able to participate even in this conversation through their sacrifices, choices, and opportunities. Not all children of immigrants get what I get, or sometimes even the bare minimum. The conversation around immigration often disregards the multi-generational trickle-down effect of immigration struggles. The children and grandchildren of immigrants can inherit the pressures and failures of their ancestors to succeed against the American backdrop. Generations of fighting for the most basic of freedoms sometimes keeps immigrants and their descendants on the bottom of the pile. I found a personal connection between B's struggle for a concrete identity and my own struggles with connection to my culture. Because I'm queer and mixed race, I was raised with a white identity, but a Filipino history. While I have all the benefits of citizenship, I sometimes feel like I don't know who I am because my family didn't pass on the traditions of the Philippines. In my grandfather's 9 children, all of them assimilated into American culture and left the Philippines behind. Only when someone as powerful as our patriarch passes away do we see traditional clothing or relatives who did not immigrate. I think my personal directing style suits this play. As a scholar and an artist, I center my work and the pieces I choose on education, dialogue, and debate. All of my productions are intended to create a question in each audience member, whether they directly relate to the content or not. While white audience members might not see themselves in the immigrant struggle, they should walk away with an understanding of the systems that are in place that they support, vote for, and play a role in. My ideal production must exemplify the undocumented immigrant experience. The space should not feel traditional or performative, but rather that we as an audience are simply bearing witness to the lives of these people. Scenery and props should be stripped bare. Sound design should fill the room with ambient cityscape sounds, sirens, and urban danger. To help demonstrate the passage of time, the lighting design should be snappy, sharp, and hardly disguised. Seeing lights and structure of the theater would add to the experience and draw focus to the action. My ideal production is intended to highlight and create an accessible presentation of the realities of undocumented immigrants for an external audience. To foster this empathy, the production would tour to affluent, white-dominated areas. However, in acknowledgement to the classist, exclusive nature of theater, the play also belongs in areas like Birmingham with high undocumented populations. Those individuals deserve to feel seen on stage as much as anyone else, but our industry is not conducive to the inclusion of poor people, least of all those paid under the table. Opening performances to those who inspire the story gives them the experience many of us have had of seeing a show and being able to say, "That was me." I want this production to take my audience and make them question what we take for granted as citizens and as full people. I want to create conversation and draw attention to the problems with citizenship and the assumption that it is easy and equally accessible to everyone. I also want to provide a mouthpiece for the unknown number of undocumented immigrants who did not make it out of this world unscathed, who fight in this uphill battle in a world around them that is built to shut them out. How many undocumented people in this country die due to lack of access to the most basic human rights? My response to this play is in the form of a micro-documentary, including the experiences of my peers.
I understood that it was like, oh, we want to be free. We want to live our lives the way that we want to. But I wouldn't call it the American dream anymore. I think that it's just the human need to be somewhere that you can be and do whatever that you want to do.
Sanctuary City made me hold my breath. I sat down to read it and blew through it all in one sitting. In the last few years especially, I've found myself latching on to these works that tell specifically POC stories because I can take them to my other BIPOC peers and suddenly we aren't shut up in our little boxes of experience. It's like the antithesis to being out there on your own.
We don't have to do this.
That's not why she left.
I'm not convinced.
Baby.
She left because it was harder here for her.
I'm not
Do you want
convinced.
3 more years of this?
And because of September.
I'm not
Do you want 3
convinced.
more years in a marriage of this?
I never wanted any of this. I never wanted to have to do any of this, to do it this way, for this to be my only option. I never wanted to lie about myself, about my life, about you.
As I've gotten older, it's become like second nature to realize when I'm the only person that looks like me in the room. No matter what conversations or activities occur, race and ethnicity always has something to do with it because it's part of who we are. I feel like a lot of my white peers don't think about that when they enter a room because we are always conscious of it. To see only white makes it feel like there's a club that I'm not in.
There are so many moments as a queer, mixed-race Asian person that I find myself completely alone in my experience, just like B does by the end of the play, with people who only kind of understand it all around him.
Do we really have to do this? I mean, is it all worth it?
Yes. I've got to rely on other people. I've had to rely on other people in hiding, in secrets for the past 13 years of my life.
I was born and raised Muslim. You know, obviously, like, I grew up in, like, a post 9/11 with the last name Muhammad. It made me who I am today, and I'm proud of the person that I am today. All the good and the bad, it's what makes us who we are.
I got nervous and I'm sorry, but I'm here. I'm ready to hand over my safety, my security, the truth of my life for 3 years and every day after that.
It isn't often enough that a piece like Sanctuary City comes along. It gives me the opportunity as a director, especially one who is queer and mixed race, but white passing, to bring in and really elevate the minority voices around me where the options are lacking.
It's become less so, can I perform this work, and more so, do I have the knowledge and experience to perform this work authentically?
About this.
He's not marrying anybody.
Unless it's you.
Which you never will. You will never do that. You will never be able to legally do that in this country. It's 2006, almost 7 in a few fucking days. So if it hasn't happened by now, it never fucking will. You will never, ever marry him.
The way we live as citizens is that we live in a protected space and we feel safe in that place, in that space, and not have to worry about your life being in jeopardy 24/7, or even half of that time, just being able to live.
This piece speaks to the changing state of our industry. We're discussing more and more who is allowed to and who is able to authentically tell certain stories. These characters and these actors are the generation that holds everyone accountable for their actions and their statements. This play is a reminder that we have an obligation to keep telling the stories that we haven't been hearing for the past 2,600 years. If we don't make space to tell those stories, what's to keep them from dissolving into thin air? Human beings started telling stories to preserve human emotion. Telling stories about even the darkest parts of our history, or things that are happening right now, keeps us from forgetting the consequences of our actions.
His kindness. Good luck.